Welcome to the Box Score Sports Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Box Score Sports YouTube channel. I'm your host, Ryan. We're going to continue our NBA exit interviews series, and we're going to do the Sacramento Kings in this video. Before we get into it, let us know in the comments down below what you think the Kings should do, how you rate their season last year as well. So, Clint, let's start with our grades for the Kings season. They were 40 and 42. They lost in the play-in to the Mavericks. So give us your grade for the Kings.
Well, again, for me, C would be average. They finished, I believe I had them as a play-in team. They kind of squeezed right in there. They had a couple hot stretches. Um, so I'll just give them an average grade of a C.
Okay, yeah, nice. I gave them a C plus. Just some things they did this season. They traded Fox, they traded for Levine, but even with Fox, it didn't seem like they were going anywhere. I was kind of hoping. I think I had them as a not lottery play-in team as well. But I thought they would be on the higher end of the play-in just because of roster continuity coming into the season, and then they kind of realized something that I think we didn't quite maybe think they would realize, and just that they wouldn't be able to compete with the roster they had. So I think that's like good for them, but it's just like disappointing where they were 2 years ago, where 3 years ago, where they were the number, I think, 2 seed in the Western Conference, and they never seemed to recapture that. And I know we talked about all the things that would have to happen for their team in order to duplicate that, right? There was some anomalies in that season, but still giving up on the Fox Sabonis thing this season was, I think, a reality check for them. Any pros or cons on the season that you wanted to hit on?
I still really liked Malik Monk. Uh,
Hmm.
he's got a really good contract. He seems to really like it in Sacramento. Um, he's probably one of my favorite players from changing what you thought of him as just like, oh, this guy is kind of like a good shooter to he handles the ball, he gets to the hoop. Um, I just like the way he plays the game. Um, so he's my highlight of the year.
Sure.
Again, I had the Kings as average because there's a lot of things I'm not a fan of, but getting Malik Monk to stay on that contract um, is a win.
Yeah, I like that. Keon Ellis, I think, kind of showed a lot this season, especially his perimeter defense. Like his offense is still coming along. He's not bad offensively. He's just not like somebody you rely on offensively. But his perimeter defense is something that uh, came to light this year. So I think he can be a real role player on a team, within the 7, 8 man rotation that you need, maybe even a starter next to a more ball dominant guard so that he would focus on the defense and the other guard can focus on the offense. So someone like Zach LaVine, he kind of works well with. DeRozan, he works well with because he's a guard that doesn't need the ball. I think that's good. And then I did say with the trades, they kind of show that they're willing to shift to whatever it is that they need to do next, and I think that's important because I think Fox Sabonis thing has it like hit its ceiling, so that was a positive as well. Um, I will say like the only con that I really had going out of this season is basically I'm not sure they have any clear future building blocks. So Keegan Murray, he's a fine player. He is what he was when he was drafted, and he's kind of the same exact player he was, which I think was the draft notes on him. Basically, he's ready to play now. And so when the Kings drafted him, they kind of knew that, and he kind of is kind of that player. So what other future building blocks do they have? Do you really want to build around Zach Levine? Probably not, right? DeRozan's 33, 34. Sabonis, maybe you can say like he's a clear building block, but I think there's questions with him whether he can be like the leader on a team and that wins a championship. So I just think there's not a lot of clear building blocks for the Kings moving forward after this season.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things I didn't like when they got DeRozan is you have Keegan Murray and you're kind of pushing him to the side. And now again, you're getting to he has next year, and then he's a restricted free agent. So you've kind of pushed it out, and then you got to pay the guy instead of kind of taking advantage of his cheaper years, bringing in DeMar, even bringing back, trading for Levine. Like you kind of, I feel like stunted his growth. And
True.
again, he seems like a good player, but what do you really have in him as upside going forward when you keep kind of scaling him back or making him like a bit player?
Yeah, that's a good point. Like that he's filling the role they're asking him to do. So maybe he could be like a future building block, but we just don't see it because of the limitation, like because of who they bring in to fill the offensive roles, right? Like DeRozan and Levine and De'Aaron Fox before that. Anything else before we move on to the offseason?
I don't think so.
Okay, let's look at the offseason outlook then. So as far as free agents go, they have just notable ones, I guess, would be Trey Lyles, LaRavia, Ellis is on a team. I think they'll pick that up though. So those are a couple of the big ones. They are at 170 million, so they're going to be below the tax threshold and the first apron going in the offseason. I think that's a good note. And then they have only a second round pick this coming year, but six tradable first round picks. So that's something that they could use up. So what are we thinking about the Kings offseason?
Again, the Kings, I think we'll call them Bulls West, and the Bulls are the Kings East. Right?
That's a good point. Yeah.
They kind of like ride this middle ground. And speaking of Bulls West, the Bulls saw that Levine and DeRozan didn't work, so the Kings thought, "Hey, why don't we take a shot at it too?" Um, Again, they're just like in that middle ground where they have good players, but it doesn't seem to. I don't want to say it doesn't seem to work because it's not like they're a terrible team, but it's not a fit that's going to take you to the next level. They had that one good year 3 years ago, and they've kind
Mhm.
of just been stuck below that. Um, Again, the Kings are another team I would like to see reset,
Yeah.
take a year, move move off of Levine, move off of DeRozan, and then move forward, acquire some assets, and then be that team that is bailing out first and second apron teams to take on either good players or assets to dump money and then go from there. Because I don't see a path for them to be, especially in the West, to compete. So if you're just going to habitually be in the play-in, that's not going to get you anywhere.
Yeah.
And I think we're starting to see DeMar DeRozan wants to consider his future. Sabonis kind of hinted at it. Like, you're just going to start losing these players to trade. Fox already requested a trade and is gone. You're just getting stuck, and these guys are going to leave, and you're not probably going to cash in what you should for them because teams now know these guys just want to get out.
Yeah, there's no sense in living in the world of mediocrity in the NBA, especially if the mediocrity, there's no like clear evidence that can go beyond that mediocrity. And I think that's where the Kings are. So it's going to be interesting what path they choose. You talked about the players examining their future. Hopefully the Kings are as well. Like, hey, could we move DeRozan for a couple young pieces? Could we move Sabonis for a couple young pieces that we could maybe watch grow? And if and like you said, just kind of like reset. I think that's where what the Kings need to do and where the Kings need to go from here because I think they hit their ceiling with the roster they have. And it's just not going to lead to especially in the West, it's just not going to lead to competitiveness in the West.
For sure. And again, if this team was an Eastern Conference team, they'd probably be a little better and
Oh
they'd
yeah.
be in the same boat. But they'd still be in the same boat of like, oh, but so it's frustrating because I do like Sacramento. They have like an awesome fan base, but it's not working to hit your upside. And the longer you keep doing this, the worse it's going to end up as these guys age, as they lose value, and then you're stuck with a bunch of middle picks and looking back at how did we only get that for all these pretty good players we had over the years.
Right, like the Bulls just kind of went through, right? Like Caruso was worth a couple firsts and like a first round pick, and they got like 2 seconds for him or whatever. So like that's you don't want to run into that problem. Or just Giddy. Was it just Giddy? Yeah, he didn't even
Yep.
get a second for it. Yeah, so like you just don't want that to happen. You want to cash in on these guys. And I think like Levine kind of restored his trade value a little bit over this past season. So there is a potential like maybe even it's the best time to look at trading Levine. Maybe you'll get more than what you had to give up. Maybe. So long shot for the Kings.
So it did similar with the Bulls. I'm not going to put Kaminga here, but I thought, what could the Kings do that would be total Kings and just ride that middle ground of maybe we can compete? And I came up with Paul George.
Okay. Okay.
I came up with either Paul George or Trey Young.
Okay.
Levine and Trey Young are very similar contract wise. But the first one I came up with Paul George is would they be the team that thinks, hey, Paul George was pretty healthy after his knee. He's just a finger. Could we bring in Paul George and ship out DeMar and something else to get to that number and be in the middle again?
That's a good one. It would be Kings-esque. Do you think like the Sixers would you be more interested in DeMar or Levine for that kind of trade?
I think they would have to do. They have so many guards,
Okay.
Philadelphia, and I don't even know if they would. I think if they're moving on Paul George, I think they're maybe doing a little bit of a reset. Um, but I think you could take DeMar. He's got what 24.7, then 25.7. So it's not like again a crippling contract. Um, so I think they would take DeMar and have a little bit of a mid-range small forward.
Yeah, so I kind of went with like what if they could try to trade DeMar to the Rockets? So the Rockets are a team that's going to probably be looking for a veteran scorer. Let's say they miss out on the Giannis's and the Kevin Durant's, right? Could the Rockets talk themselves into DeMar because they need a closer? And DeMar can close. Like he's a good closer in the mid-range. And would they be willing to give you just have to give up like two of your young guys like Cam Whitmore and someone else and maybe a lottery protected pick for DeMar. I think that's sort of a long shot. Let's get a couple young guys in there that we can grow around. Let DeMar go somewhere where he can compete. And that's sort of like my long shot is like two guys, Cam Whitmore, pick another one for DeRozan in a lottery protected pick for DeRozan. And if you're the Rockets and you miss out on all the guys you want, would that be like a secondary option? Because again, they're not going to be able to pay all their young guys moving forward anyway. So you might as well try to get somebody in there now that can help you win or compete for a championship.
Yeah, I would love that for the Kings if
Yeah.
you moved on DeMar and we're able to get even some of their tertiary young guys that haven't really shown a lot. At least get them in there, get some playing time. And for the Rockets, it is probably a cheaper fallback option. If they strike out on all these other things to bring in DeMar, again, not crippling. You have 2 years left, and again, all these guys once they get to the last year, you can probably dump them for relatively cheap.
Right. And if the DeMar doesn't work, you have his salary the following year to use as like filler for maybe another like maybe Booker then becomes available and you're like, okay, we can throw DeMar and then we still have a bunch of picks. Like you're not like if you're the Rockets, you're not going to cripple yourselves either with that trade. You're just like, hey, we have this opportunity to we were the second seed without a guy who could score the basketball when we need to. Let's add someone that actually can get rid of some of these guys that we didn't even play, right? They didn't play Whitmore during the playoffs, So I'm just saying, like, there is a potential for both sides to kind of be a small win on both sides of that trade. So that was my long shot trade.
Would you move on from Sabonis at this point?
I would. Um, I think Sabonis needs to be next to like a rim protector, but almost like I mean, you can say this about any player, but it's like almost like Wembanyama and him would fit good together. Wembanyama stretches the floor. He's a rim protector, and Sabonis can be kind of closer to the rim that way. But yeah, I would move on from Sabonis only because I just think you hit a ceiling with him, and I just he's another interesting guy. How do you build around Sabonis? How do you fit him into a team? So maybe like the Warriors might be interesting, but like again, that clogs things up because he's not really a floor spreader. So that's the problem with Sabonis. He's a little better than Sengun as far as shooting, but he's not like super big either. So he it's hard with Sabonis.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest part, and the part that sinks you when you make the Halliburton deal is if you had to move Tyrese Halliburton, there's a lot of teams that would take him. If you have to move Sabonis or you're looking to move Sabonis, how many teams can build around him or have what he needs next to him? You know, like a lot of the good teams probably aren't excited to have him to try to play defense or have to run the ball through him. I like you, I would try to move on from him. I just think at 43, 46, 49, the next 3 years, there's a limited amount of teams that would do that. And I think he probably prefers to have a shot to win, but I don't know a team that has a shot to win would be eager to bring him in unless you had the Blazers for Jeremy Grant. I don't know what that does for the Blazers, though. Like, you know, you already struggle on defense, but I would look to move him.
Yeah, it would have to, in my opinion, it'd have to be a team that's really good defensively, but has like really good floor spacing as well. Because he's not he's not a great defender. He's not a great rim defender, but he also doesn't spread the floor. He has a specific. It's the same as Sengun. It's a Sengun problem. Like it's like I don't know. I can't think of like off the top of my head right now. Like maybe if maybe well that's I don't like the Mavs either. Like you could pair him with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis can kind of spread the floor, but he also likes to work down in the post sometimes. But that would be like the kind of guy you'd have to pair him with.
Yeah, the Pelicans, would they move Zion and would be like, hey, at least we got a more proven guy, but they don't have a ton of shooting. I don't think he's a Miami guy. If you got Bam to space out, so you go through some of these, and all the teams you come up with, like the Nets, the Hornets, like all those teams, are like what is he doing for that team though, besides raising the floor a little bit and then totally capping your ceiling?
Now, I guess maybe like with pair him in next to like a Nas Reed if like you wanted to get rid of Gobert for some reason, maybe that would be interesting. But again, I don't think that like makes Minnesota a better team. But at least like Minnesota's bigger, right? Like if he was with Randall and Edwards and Daniels, like that, at least they're bigger, right? And so maybe they can. But yeah, interesting problem for the Kings. Okay, anything else on the Kings? Okay, well, thanks, Clint. Thanks, everybody else. If you haven't yet, please comment on the video. What would you do if you're the Kings? Would you move on from some of these players? What is your long shot prediction for the Sacramento Kings? Subscribe to the channel, like the video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed, and we'll talk to you guys real soon. Thanks so much for watching this clip of the Box Score Sports Podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to our channel. Follow us on Instagram and Twitter or X. And we'll talk to you guys real soon. See ya.